Thanks, David. Morning. Morning. All right. Look, wow, 26 degrees this morning. Anybody wake up at 5:30 and say, I am going to persevere, I'm going to go for that 5-mile jog? Anybody? There's got to be somebody. So I know you did not come to Redmond for the weather this morning. Brent and I were just back there. We talked about maybe having this in balmy San Diego next time. Yeah, a couple fans there. But look, it's a really important day. And while I made it only about 50 yards outside of my house before turning around, I think the good news I was thinking about is, boy, I get to come and spend some time with some amazing partners of Microsoft that are really passionate about working on this opportunity ahead. And I'm going to cover a few things this morning. I'm going to talk about redefining what the opportunity is, spend a little bit of time about anchoring on customer success and what it really truly means to be intimate with our customers. I'll spend a little bit of time and actually do a precursor of what Mark and Brent are going to spend time on later today and put you to work a little bit, get that working mindset in terms of what you can start accomplishing today to drive future success within your organizations and ultimately with your customers. And then I'm going to give you a little bit of a transparent, not to be tweeted, I think fairly high-level view with a little bit of added color in terms of what Microsoft's H2 sort of senior leader priorities are. So I'll try and give you a little bit of scoop behind the scenes about how we're thinking about the business and let you translate a little bit in terms of how you can take that home and share it with your teams, I would just say. On some of the things over the next sessions, there's a lot of great learnings you can take back. Obviously, you're very trusted partners of Microsoft, so not sort of the thing to be tweeting live as we go. With that, let's start off with the opportunity. I've been at the company now coming up close up to 20 years. And you know, when I first joined, the people that were around me that had been around in the years prior, they all grew up at the company demoing Office for a living. That's how you got into organizations, is you would go in and evangelize Word and PowerPoint and Excel. And that's how you won over customer. And that's changed quite a bit from the original vision of PC and Windows in every desktop. And you can see in this particular visual how over the years, in terms of how we've worked together, we've worked hard to expand the joint opportunity in terms of how we're engaging with the customer. But I think more importantly, how you add your value-added services in a way that you can drive a profitable practice on top of that customer win and engagement. And you can see there sort of the path line around data center with Windows Server and SQL over time, the bold ambitions, and then now the famous TAM. And when you hear TAM, just think huge opportunity. It's the total addressable market. And it's really accelerated by a couple of the solution areas, primarily around data and AI and apps and infrastructure, where you can almost think about the opportunity as infinite, not finite, like in the early days of a PC and Windows and productivity, where it's kind of defined by the PC shipment. It only takes the next great idea to really seize the opportunity ahead on what you have with data and AI especially. And so we're going to spend a little bit of time today talking about that in real terms. Overall in the US, to get really specific, we see over the coming years a 1.7 trillion total addressable market across the 4 following solution areas. Now I want to step back. Has anybody seen this slide before? I hope you've seen it from your local teams or at some presentation at Inspire. And I was driving in this morning, and maybe it was the shock of the 26-degree weather, but you know, it hit me, like digital transformation is not fast food. It's not a Happy Meal. It's not something you go back and sort of get the pieces, parts, put it together, and just easily put it in front of the customer. You got to earn digital transformation with your customer. It starts with deep customer trust. It's about understanding the personas in terms of what they actually have to do for a living to drive their success with the customers that you're engaging with. It's about understanding the challenges from a market dynamics, a competitive standpoint, all the different dimensions of what your end customers have to go through. And it's not just about winning them and closing the deal. It's about delighting them and earning the right to have them as customers for life. And that's what digital transformation, I think, really means. And this slide is kind of a very simple caveman view that says, look at digital transformation on two simple dimensions. You can see there on the left-hand side of the slide, those are the 4 solution areas. In the olden days, I guess if you want to call it, we would have just listed products. But we talk about customer solutions, and these are really the solution areas that you will develop your profitable practices around, how you'll set up your organizational design, how you think about your P&L, how you think about the opportunity, and how much of that 1.7 trillion TAM each of you here today want to go after. And really, each of you can go at that in a very hungry and aggressive way. Underneath each of these is an example under modern workplace. We all know that's devices, third-party OEM, and wonderful Surface devices. It's Office, and it's Windows. That's modern workplace business applications. It's obviously Dynamics and LinkedIn, apps and infrastructure around our server and hybrid, and then data and AI is where we bring our analytics capabilities in. And I think this is really the language that I would encourage you, if there's a couple things that you get a tattoo on, it's these 4 solution areas, because that's the language of how we can really define success together, invest together, and go after the opportunity together. So that 1.7 trillion TAM, I could actually show you a slide that decomposes the 1.7 into these 4 solution areas. Now, you don't have to memorize it, but I found one way that I was able to memorize it when I first saw it presented. And you can orient it, the letters a little bit. I do MAD B, you know, the B with the stinger on it. MAD B, modern workplace, apps and infrastructure, data and analytics, and biz apps, MAD B. Or you could do BMAD and start with the biz apps first. But I would encourage you all in this room to please try and find some way to make this part of the language of how you engage, not only at your senior leadership level, but also within your organization. And every time you're engaged with a Microsoft team, make sure you're at least communicating at this solution area level. And then more importantly, think about how your solution set is defined today and how it maps to this. And provide us feedback saying, hey, here's the gaps in how I think you're thinking about the solution areas. Or hey, can you come educate me and spend a little bit more time with me on what this particular solution area is, its components, and how we can build a profitable practice around it. By the way, great opportunity for you to engage with your partner development manager, the partner technology team, or even the go-to-market team to actually get these built. So those are the solution areas. Think of those as what we're building and what we're taking to market. But again, kind of pivoting not just on the old ways of doing things where we put it on the shelf and it's just going to sell, bringing back in this customer success mindset. Think about right there the digital transformation. I talked about earning it, how digital transformation is not fast food. It's not a Happy Meal. You got to earn that customer trust. You got to build real valuable connections with those customers to help those customers become successful in their own right. And that comes around these 4 dimensions that are pretty easy to memorize too. Empowering their employees, engaging customers, optimizing operation, and transforming products. These are the things you would do probably in some ways with your own companies. But say you were a small manufacturer. Say you are a small retail outlet. Say you're in the financial services industry. You're thinking about these 4 dimensions. Kate Johnson, who is our new president in the US, came over in her very first meeting, her first keynote. Was awesome to hear because she talked about how at GE, effectively, they were working through these 4 dimensions. And I think this is an example of how companies of all sizes are going through radical transformation. Now, I do like this slide. It's fairly crisp and straightforward. It shows the solution areas and how they can map to digital transformation. That's essentially the math equation. But I saw this past summer Judson get up on a keynote. And Brent and I, we immediately, I think we texted each other. We go, we got to get this slide. And you could tell that morning Judson had put it together for the very first time, so it wasn't as pretty as this particular one. But you have digital transformation, and how do you actually go out and earn it? Like, what's the detail behind earning it, getting customer trust, having the right customer conversation, earning it for the lifetime of that customer? And so Judson talked about the 2 floors of the building. On the bottom side, you can see what we've been pretty good at over time with the addition of biz apps and apps and infrastructure and data and AI. Like our heritage is on the left-hand bottom room around modern workplace. That's the example of when I first started, folks were going in and demoing Office. That's what most of the Microsoft people did. And how we've expanded with Dynamics, our server offerings, and our analytics capabilities over time. But that's just the beginning. That's just table stakes to be able to have those conversations. You got to be able to break up the stairs. You got to be able to take that elevator upstairs and actually meet with the business decision makers in those organizations that are thinking not just about security or GDPR or management of their infrastructure. They're thinking about how they attract the modern workforce. They're thinking about how they maintain strong, connected relationships with the millennials that work with them. They're thinking about how to engage in new digital formats with their end customers. They're thinking about modern ways, just like you have over the past 5 years, of going from a transactional business stream to an annuitized business stream. And they need help on these things. So I would ask you in the room, you don't have to raise hands on it, but how many rooms are you in today with your customers? How many rooms are you in today with your opportunities? With your sales teams and your marketing teams, do you think about penetrating into these conversations and showing that you are the best on the planet at driving customer success in this framework? And so this is another example of a very simple way that you can go home with your teams armed with what Brent's going to cover and Mark Stewart's going to cover. So you have all the profitability pieces, and so you build at the right pace your practice. But ultimately, this is how it's going to translate into customer conversations when you get home. This is a core way you're going to define success. Now, when I was preparing for this, I was working with David, who kicked off this morning, and Alex, who's on my team, and we said, well, you know, let's get a slide that says when they get back home. Because there's nothing worse than coming to a place where it's 25 degrees, 26 degrees, and then not feeling like you got value out of it. I mean, you could be back home. In fact, instead of being here this morning, you could be calling customers, talking to them about digital transformation. But you made this sacrifice to come up. And so I said, let's get very precisely what we think they're going to learn. And a format for getting feedback that's in this afternoon's session. What joint success looks like. My boss, Dave Willis, he talks about always keeping score, because if you're not keeping score, you're only practicing or inspecting what you expect. We've got to have clear definitions of success. We're going to talk about those today. And then what are the next steps when you land? And I was back there with Brent, and he said, hey, no. Not when they land, today. Let me show you this action sheet, worksheet that we're going to start doing. We're going to start working with everybody in this room today. And that got me going. I was like, okay, I could actually go for my run now because we're actually going to put this into practice today. It's not just going to be a bunch of slideware where we're coming in. And then I think especially during the Mark Stewart time, he's going to really make this edgy and tangible in real terms. That you can start actually building on this today. And I imagine a handful, if not at least half the room, starts firing emails back to their teams back at home. To be clear, each of you will start today on this 30, 60, 90-day plan with very, in some ways, granular and tactical next steps. And I would just offer 2 things. One, to get your feedback as you're seeing this and absorbing it. But 2, to really have that challenger mindset, that open mindset, that growth hacking mindset that says, hey, I might be willing to try a few new things here. And if I can do that hand in hand with the One Commercial Partner team at Microsoft, And if I can look Brent in the eye and Mark Stewart in the eye and my partner development manager in the eye and the V team in my eye with their commitment to help me move through this, I'm going to take a stab at it. And I think you can see, while I won't go through each one of those bullets there, I'll let you sort of read through them. I will call out one thing that is, I just want to make sure, we talk about every single day, Dave and I do, Dave Willis, who's the CVP for one commercial partner in the US, his entire team, Scott Emmy on the technical side, Gretchen O'Hara on the GTM side, Karen Davascovo on the CellWith side, and Casey McGee, who manages the SIs and ISVs. We talk about partner profitability every single day. And I spent quite a bit of time with Dave running the Dynamics ecosystem. I've always been engaged in my 20 years on the partner side in all the different segments. I had a worldwide job running worldwide SMB for the past 6 years, but I'm highly sensitized to how important profitability is to you, and how making payroll and keeping folks off the bench, and how hard a decision can be even about how you hire your next VP of marketing, how that can put a dramatic stress on your business plan or your own P&L. And the trade-offs that you have to make are delicate dials to be turning, and we take that extremely seriously. And so know as you go through the training today, Mark Stewart is here, Brent is here, because they're sort of the godfathers of this partner profitability. And when I first met Brent, this is what he was talking about in every single one of the one-on-ones, is how we need to talk to partners first about their profitability and their P&L. And we need to make that come alive, because if that lifeline dies, if the P&L struggles, if it goes inverted, there's no opportunity with our ecosystem to go after that total addressable market. So we're going to spend a lot of time in this 30, 60, 90-day plan with that tattoo that says partner profitability. So anyway, I think here's the pivot when you get back home at a minimum. And I'm really looking forward to seeing some great feedback from today and what we can do together in the coming weeks and months. And then finally, I thought I'd just spend a little bit of time. Some of these probably seem obvious to you, but I'll just walk through them to let you know how, when we're looking internally at what the opportunities after the first half of the year, and by the way, thank you. There was a significant amount of change. There was change for me personally. There was change for each one of our partner development managers with pretty dramatic turnover in their portfolios. There was changes organizationally where maybe some of the ways you engaged with Microsoft in the past weren't the same. We had to rebuild those synapses together. And I'm extremely proud of your perseverance, your patience, and your determination to help us and to give us the feedback. I know many of you have been very vocal where we could do better, and I thank you for that. And we got to keep up that transparent communication, our trust with each other, so that you can be vocal. And by the way, you had that opportunity all day today and into the networking event tonight, where I'll be back in, but we want to hear your voice. And this is meant to show you in a real transparent way how we are focused and aligning with you to go after the opportunity in H2. It also sort of shows where we have a little bit more, I think, pinpoint pressure together, or an opportunity together, glasses half full, to go after some things that are important when we think about digital transformation. For example, the fuel of being able to drive your profitable business is a combination of what two things? Winning new customers, and then, of course, delighting them and earning the right to have them as customers for life. And right now, we have a huge opportunity, arguably, over the next 24 months, all of the customer opportunities we're talking about will have their first, second, and third cloud service in those solution areas. The question is, are you going to be associated with it? Are we going to be associated with you, with that end customer? And it's really easy to sort of get pinpoint accurate in terms of looking at the white space and being able to say, either with a segment pivot, an industry pivot, or solution pivot, we need to, our fuel for the future is acquiring more customer ads on Office 365, more customer ads on Dynamics, more customer ads on some Azure workload. That is the foundation for long-term success together. And then the second part of that, as you can see, is then ensuring we activate those customers, we get the usage, that they're loving the offer, and that we earn the right to additional engagement with those customers. That's the 1-2 punch right there on the left. And we talk pretty much hourly internally about how we can help you both acquire those customers with better precision and then delight those customers in a way that gives us mutual success together. We obviously have an opportunity to go after that TAM, total addressable market, more in each account. In many cases, for each of you in this room, you might have one productivity workload in some cases or a unique workload, but you don't have the other two services. It's a reminder we can go back and get those sticky relationships and expand our footprint. We're doing some great things together with Michael Clark and Allison Watson on our small and medium corporate space. Some great progress with our inside sales teams and our AEs in the field. I think we have a huge opportunity there. You're going to continue to see a lot of investment in a really, really sweet customer set. Remember, everybody in this room, has an opportunity to go after any customer. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you all have an optimal fit, but our segment boundaries that prevent you from going where you want to go with passion, with a great offer, and with profitability, it's not going to come from us saying, no, we're stopping you. We're going to enable you. And even in this SMC space, I think there's plenty of opportunity for many of you in this room. We want to have a refuse to lose mindset. There's an opportunity that we're working, just an example. I was flying home from a trip last night on email with Stephanie Martin, who's on our SMB team in the US, working a particular opportunity. It's a CSP opportunity for O365 for 1,800 seats. It's an SMB, it's unmanaged. Yet we're getting deeply engaged. We're taking it to a digital win room type environment to see if we can get some extra support to help win that deal in a competitive situation. It's a beautiful thing. It's on CSP, and we're there to help. And we're not stopping at just sort of the standard approach to winning those opportunities where it's like, hey, here's the programs, offers, and incentives. Go try and win that. No, we're getting engaged. And you are going to come, each of you in this room, across a handful of these really strategic wins a year. And I would encourage you to engage with us. Sometimes maybe we can't help as directly as you would like. We, however, want to make sure that we're learning about those so that we maybe can get a program and offer an incentive structure in place or a support mechanism on the pre-sales, especially around some of these more complex workloads, to get in there and help you get that design win or reference account if it's really strategic. And so that's a combination on that right-hand side of refuse to lose and really taking that competitive spirit together. And then finally, this is a passion of Lynn Frankel in my organization, and it's around not only Surface, but third-party devices. But the more we can integrate in the way our customers naturally want to procure their solutions and services and devices, the more we're going to drive sticky relationships. And so I don't want to leave devices, while it's not a primary topic this week. Which one of your customers isn't thinking holistically about how they're subscribing to services, be it hardware or cloud or somewhere in between? One of the biggest new offerings that's coming out from partners like Synix and a few others, as an example, are these hardware as a service, where they're bundling O365 and Surface for one monthly payment. And so how you think about the real life element, look, if this section right here, if we all kind of quit our day job and go start a new company, and we open up an office in Bellevue, and say we had 25 or 50 employees, maybe somebody say, hey, Dave, you came from Microsoft. Can you just can you just get us the software and get us our stuff? If it's only 25 employees, I'm probably going to put on my, I got to figure out the IT cap for half a day. I don't really specialize in it full time. Maybe I have another job in that company. And I'm just saying, hey, is there a one-stop shop where I can get 25 Surface, 25 O365, I can get it all set up, I can get my modern workplace up and running, it's secure, it's manageable, and it's up to date. And so remember, customer buying behaviors are different. And by the way, you can throw in mobile devices into that. And so if you're not thinking about each one of these conversations with your customer, including devices, we're leaving a trusted conversation on the table. So with that, thank you again for coming in today. We invested heavily to ensure you get the most out of today. We're going to make you start earning it a little bit today, as you're going to see when Brent Combest comes on. I am intimately thankful for your perseverance and hard work as we've gone through the changes organizationally, and your feedback has been extremely valuable so that we can adapt and learn, and we will stay committed to doing that. I'm david.smith@microsoft.com. You know, all the key executives always try and do their best to reply to you. I'm committed to doing the same. So please do enjoy the rest of today and stay warm. With that, I'm going to hand off to Brent Combest. Thank you.